Son, where'd you find this?
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe break bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing and singing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging that generations remember our story.
Yo. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Peace and blessings. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. What's the word? What's the word? How y'all feeling, man? Happy hump day. You know what time it is. Thursday, Friday. The weekend in general is right around the corner. How y'all doing, man? Let's get into it. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators, man. Do me a solid, like, share, repost, let the people know that we are on. I got Nat in the building. My apologies, brother. Was a preempt. I had to scrap what I had originally for this one because it was a conversation that presented itself to me yesterday following the clip. And I actually found the original footage. So I decided let's go ahead and swap it out. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and bring you up. Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Likewise. How you feeling?
I was a bit of a rush. I was in a hurry. I didn't want to be late. I was still 2 minutes late, and thankfully you got this music playing. But I've been busy, man. I did more work in a week than I did in 3 months last week. That's how the AI stuff is actually going on right now. Edited an entire YouTube channel, all the descriptions, all the tags, everything, just basically incredible. Yeah, I literally can't believe what's going on right now. That's how insane. We're at a point where there are going to be a lot of people who are going to lose their jobs, and more people are going to lose their jobs. So I'm excited, but I'm also nervous and worried for people at the same time. If I'm 100% honest, it's a difficult time right now for a lot of people. And talking to my friend who's been into coding for 30 years, yeah. And he's excited about AI, but he reminded me of this very point. It's interesting when what's going to happen is that plumbers, electricians, people that work with their hands at the moment, they're going to be in the lead, right, for a while, whilst people reskill, and that's what's basically going to be happening. And Social media managers, gone. Content creators, no problem. But, a lot of these jobs that we thought were really important are actually completely irrelevant now. That's how good these tools have become. If I'm honest, it's mind-blowing, to tell you the truth. I think this week I'm probably going to do more work in this week than I would normally have done in 6 months, using code. It's bizarre.
That's a conversation we're going to have to spend back on, especially considering what I keep on finding scrolling these social media streets. But I respect the grind and the hustle, man. Somebody who spends a majority of his day in the laptop, you get a different appreciation for folks who have a level of discipline and persistence. So hats off to you, of course.
Thanks, man. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And what amazes me is the greed of a lot of these platform providers. So I'm just building my own stuff. I'm done. I'm literally done with platform providers charging stupid money. I'm literally just building stuff. I got to a point where I'm just fed up. It's like they're like, oh, these people have money. Yeah, we're going to just charge them. And then, and it's a bizarre state of affairs. Yeah, really. Where we're at right now, it's crazy, man. Crazy.
Well, speaking of affairs, this brings me back to what I was talking about. Conversation that was introduced to me yesterday about some comments that this young lady said a few years ago. Now, yeah, it's an older video, but it's still relevant to this day. Okay. And I'm going to let her get her bars off, and we're going to peel the lids back on this one, man. So
cool.
Let me bring this up on the big screen.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to ruffle some feathers. And if you're the proof that this isn't true, more power to you. But you will never be able to date a broke man and be happy. Why? Because it's 2026. Bills are higher than they've ever been. The cost to have a decent life is 4 times as much as it was in the days before. And you're never going to be able to live a soft life with a broke man, period. You're going to end up pick-me-shaying and building him up or absorbing all the costs of everything because someone has to make something up. Why you also cannot be happy is because a broke man likely has a trail of bad habits that follow him, either lacks hustle or ambition, or is chronically angry with himself and thus will then resent you because he is broke. And you will feel the flack of that resentment every single day. If you are a driven woman, if you want better out of life, it doesn't matter how much you love him, you will never be able to be happy with a broke man. High value women don't date broke. They date class. They date to level up. They date people who can do something for their lives regardless of looks. Too many women too young, they get caught up in the looks, they get caught up in the swagger, and then they realize he's broke and comes from a generation of broke, and he doesn't necessarily have the hustle, the ambition, or the circle, and he's not aspiring to get the circle that he needs to climb heights and break generational cycles. And if you're one of these women who is driven, who is powerful, who is smart, who is capable, then you're never going to be able to get ahead with that broke man. You're going to end up brokenhearted, because you're going to be chronically disappointed by him, consistently let down, and he's going to take out all that anger he has because he's broke and cannot provide and protect, which is innately instilled in men. Like, men's genetic DNA is to protect and to provide. Now it just is in the form of money, to be honest with you. But more time, you won't be able to get ahead in a relationship with a broke man. I thought this was common knowledge, but it's really not, because so many women fall victim to the cycle of trauma with a broke man. And a broke man will often mistreat you because not only the resentment, but because he knows deep down underneath that he can't do shit for you. So he's wondering what you're really doing there, why you really like him, why do you love him? He can't do anything for you. And if you're a lover girl like me, who, you know, it never, like, at one time in my life, money didn't matter. It was my feelings. It was how much I cared about you. It was who you are as a person. All that is out the friggin' window now. Take that and throw that out. Because when you understand how men operate, men think, you know that if you're going places and he's not, it will never be a match. And if you want to go places and he doesn't even know what he's having for lunch, it will never be a match. Hope this helps you, ladies.
Nat, come on down.
There's a lot of stuff she just said there. I think she's actually, a lot of what she said is actually correct. Yeah. A lot of what she said is correct. But there's a big but, right? It's down to goals in life. It's down to ambition, but there's also a lot of things in there. Like, I don't know how old she is, right? And it's what I was saying. I don't know how many weeks ago. I did a video on looks maxing and life maxing and stuff, and I talked about how young guys in their 20s are not getting the girls in their 20s, because the girls in their 20s are dating older guys, because the guys in the 20s are just smoking weed, playing PlayStation, right? And I don't know how old this chick is, but I think for me, maybe she's been around that. She doesn't really say too much in this video about her personal circumstances, but I think it's a very well thought out argument she has, right? The major issue, though, I have is in fact, I have many issues with society and the way that things are, right? And it's like, okay, so you're a high value woman. She doesn't look like a high value woman to me, right? I'm sorry. That's the first thing, yeah. And maybe I'm being rude, yeah, all right. But she doesn't look like a high value woman. Maybe she makes a lot of money, yeah. But that doesn't make you a high value woman if you make a lot of money. It means that you have a lot of money and you either use that money to put yourself in the right social circles to meet a man who isn't broke, right? And it is very difficult. Relationships are very difficult, and money is a big, big problem in a lot of these relationships. But when you have a woman, you have the right woman, you know, that investment that you're making in that woman will pay off, right? Because she will, over your lifetime, she will encourage you positively. You will get through the struggles together, and then you will both become high value. You might have a family, right? And you might become the breadwinner. She might become the breadwinner, right? That's okay, yeah. But the thing is that being judgmental about someone or people when you don't know them, right, is kind of like, some people just go through struggles in life, right, in order to get to the next level, yeah. And actually, you know, just because someone doesn't have money doesn't make them a low value person. Yeah, it means they don't have money, but they're not a low value person if they've got drive, if they've got enthusiasm, if they've got skills, if they've got the desire to become successful. You know, all these things are like super related. And to be honest, she kind of really annoyed me in the beginning, but then actually she's right in many ways. So I don't know, man. What do you sort of think about all this?
See, this was a good one, man, because my initial thoughts yesterday was she's saying a whole bunch of stupid shit. But that was before I listened to the whole clip. The clip that I watched yesterday was narrated by another gentleman. So I didn't want to dilute my own perception of it based off of what he said and what she said. Listening to it in its full entirety, I will say that there are things within her statements that are really accurate. Okay. No denying that. But she, and I said this before, what I hate about people who turn the camera on and have these conversations is that they're very vague. Because to me, there are different variations of what broke look like. Right? Are you frugal with money? Where you work hard for your shit. You don't like to buy stupid things. You would rather put your money on college tuition, making sure that your future kids are taken care of just in case there are like medical situations that come up, anniversaries, vacations you want to plan for, things of that nature. There's the type of broke where you're Chad and Tyrone. And Chad and Tyrone, they don't have no aspirations, which is the portion of it I believe she's referring to. The guy that a lot of women are attracted to, but they know damn well aren't good for them. And they don't really have any desire to be more than what they are. They prefer to live off of people. It's not just them living off women. They just live off of whoever has what they need, but they refuse to go and do it themselves. Then you have spiritual broke, spiritual poor. You can have all the money in the world, but if your character and your spirit is depleted, you don't have righteousness in you, you don't have God in you, then none of the other stuff matters. And when I'm listening to her talk, she sounds like she's either speaking about a stereotypical guy who uses people, doesn't love himself, doesn't have any desire or want to be better, or she's talking about someone who has a basic lifestyle where he really doesn't need to show that he loves and cares for you by spending and buying exorbitant amounts of crap.
Right.
Because I can make you a fucking macaroni and cheese plastic plate that say I love you on it, and it has more sentiment than that $20,000 bracelet. Why
Very
is that?
good.
Because the value within both are different. But see, those are my initial thoughts on it. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna let you cook, but that's really where I'm at with it. There's too many different layers for it.
There are
But I
many
hear
layers, actually. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we go through a lot of stages in our lives as well, right? And actually, when you have a lot, you never think about money, right? And then one day you have some problems with money, and then money becomes a massive headache, right? And then you go through phases, yeah. So when you don't have a lot of money and you don't have any money to spend on things and you want a lot of stuff, right? Then when you get a large amount of money, and that could be 10,000, 20, 50, whatever, 100, 200, whatever, you go and you spend a lot of that money, yeah? And then it happens again because you're not managing the money effectively. Then you get to a stage where you've spent the money and you don't have anything again. And then you're like, oh no, I don't have anything. And I think this pattern reoccurs many, many times until you get to a point of actually not wanting to spend money at all on anything, apart from things that are going to improve your business and maybe make your house watertight. As one example, you might want to fix your house. Maybe you might want to do something small, buy a new lawnmower or something. I don't know what it is, right? But the problem with these people is they're superficial. That's what we're talking about here, really. We're talking about the superficial kind of flashiness that, for me, now at my time of life, yeah, it's important to be cool and it's important to do cool stuff. But like, look, I've got a 24-year-old motorcycle, right? Yeah, it'll do 200 miles an hour. But my point is that different things appeal to me now than they may have appealed to me years ago. But I've never been that flashy with stuff. I'm just not a flash Harry, right? Whereas some people, and I know a lot of wealthy people. Some of them, most of them, in fact, are not that flashy. They're like rather buy a secondhand car for 15,000 or 12,000 pounds than spend 50,000 on a brand new car, as an example, right? And spend money upgrading their data centers, right, to run applications or whatever. Yeah. So I think what she said is shallow, if I'm honest. But we've only got a small part of a video that maybe she had a lot more to say. Maybe something bad happened to her. Maybe a guy lived off her, like you're saying. But then we invite these things into our lives for specific reasons. Yeah. I mean, that's how I look at it. Every man and woman is your teacher, right? It's kind of how I look at these things. So I don't know. I'm kind of trying to dig deep into this, but it isn't really that much more complicated than that in my mind. But maybe I've missed something.
See, here's my thing. I've gotten to an age where conversations alone hold more value than people think they do. And I love that the Bible speaks about this. It's in Proverbs too, matter of fact. I can't pinpoint it. I end up looking for it so I can quote it. But it speaks about how certain elements of the human condition based off of spiritual principles hold more weight than this worldly oddity that we kind of chase after. So when I'm talking to somebody, to me, that's like having platinum, having diamonds, having jewelry around my neck. Everybody's not going to see it that way. When she spoke, I read her. It didn't take me very long. She does it just like a lot of us do it. We will sit in these settings and start to have these discussions, but the context is either blurred or it doesn't give enough to go off of, unless you use discernment and you know how to pick out of what is being said and really navigate it to the point to where you can understand, all right, well, there's definitely an origin here. You had an experience, like you said, clearly. When you talk, you're talking about a specific individual. Your concept of love and relationships are based off of personal experiences. They're not connected to a majority of consciousness. Yours is like, well, this is what I know and what I've seen, so this is what I'm going to talk about. But you leave out so much that when someone is trying to compute it, it's like, all right, well, I see what's going on here. One thing that I noticed that people do, they never bring God up in this. That's my biggest issue with these things. Why isn't God at the foundation of any of this? Why are we even talking about broke? If you're gonna talk about broke, then talk about broke. Talk about what broke looks like. Again, and you said it, and she said it, like there are people, and I know I'm touching on multiple things at once. I do that sometimes. If you are a man or a woman who is dealing with someone who is spiritually depleted, spiritually deficient, everything else that they touch or put their hands on is going to be a reflection of that. So when you speak about broke and things of that nature, then I got to question, well, what does that say about you if that's what you deal with and what you tolerate and what you entertain? And then the fact that you don't even know how to differentiate between someone who has righteousness and they are straightforward, they stoic, they got their head on straight, they just move differently. And you said it before, you don't see or value certain things the way that you used to. I don't either. When I was younger, I was out here like I didn't really have a care in the world about breaking stuff that was valuable, getting involved with situations and people, not caring or being considerate of their feelings or the outcomes of intermingling with different spirits. I didn't care about none of that shit until I started getting older, and the experience taught me not to play around with life as much as I did anymore. So, yeah, she did touch on some stuff, but it was so much that she left off the table, and I don't know if she did that on purpose or she did that because that's just where her mindset is currently. Because some people you can have these conversations with, they'll understand what you're saying or what I'm saying, or they may not because they're not there yet.
Yeah. It's not an easy one, right? To sort of dissect this, but it is down to what matters in life to you, right? And the thing is that if, for example, if you want to travel in a really, how do I put this, prestige way, right? And somebody else likes to backpack, right? And go camping, yeah, then you're just not going to get on that way, right? Unless one of you moves to compromise and you'd be like, okay, well, we're not going to camp, but we're going to go and stay in a posh yurt, right? As an example. Yeah. But then if your budget doesn't match what the other person wants to do, then you're not a match anyway, right? But I think it's down to aspiration, right? Like you say, like if you're with someone that actually understands life, understands business, understands careers, and understands you, then it doesn't matter where you are. If you have a good connection with that person, that's how you build a strong relationship, in my opinion, and you grow something which cannot be moved by these circumstances, right? You might not have a job for a year, 2 years, but they're going to look after you. And when you come out, maybe they won't have a job for a year or 2 years, or maybe both of you build a business together, right? But all these things are definitely down to purpose, right? If you've got no purpose and you've got no spiritual life, every guy will do, every woman will do, right? And it just becomes just like shallow. There's nothing to it. There's no connection, right? And that connection is what we're really talking about here. The connection of creativity, a connection with the divine, right? Of, us achieving things as humans, right? when we achieve things, we're fulfilling our purpose, right? Because we live to achieve. Why do you think there's so much competitive sport? Why do you think, you know, people love to get better jobs and because they love the endorphins of winning, right? And completing something. And but I don't know what she means by a high value woman. I think it's very relevant to that video you shared the other day with some pop star or something, talking, the one with Whoopi Goldberg and this and that. Yeah, like it's just like treating men like toys. Yeah, is kind of their attitude. And it's, but guys do that stuff too. This is the thing. Yeah. And it's all down to what woman do you want? It's all down, and it's down to what guy do they want? Like I've got a friend, yeah, and his girlfriend, he just tells her what to do all the time. He pays for pretty much. He doesn't pay for everything, but for a number of years, he paid for everything. She does what she's told to do, and that's what happens, yeah. And they seem quite happy. He likes to do that. She quite likes to be told what to do, right? So it's just down to what you want. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's sitting there and maybe taking a piece of paper and going, okay, this is my ideal partner. This is the woman that I want. This is the guy I want. Write down these things, and then that's going to help you to kind of come up with the ideal partner, right? Which she is not my ideal partner. I can't think of anything more horrific than spending time with her, if I'm perfect, or any woman that's like that at all. I actually met a woman in the sauna at the Hilton, yeah, and she was looking for another father for her next child, yeah. I think she had one, or maybe, yeah, she had one, and she was looking for another father for her next child, and thank God it wasn't me. Thank God it wasn't me, yeah, because it's that shallowness that is just something that turns me right off, to be honest.
We need to define what a high value woman is at this point, because I'm sick and tired of these made up terms being put in rotation, and it's very conflicting and confusing to certain people who want to model, should I say, this lifestyle, right? The things that make women high value to men do not correlate what women think it looks like for us. I'll say this. A high value woman for me is a woman of God, first and foremost. That means you still follow the practices of the Bible. You still believe in them. You still honor them. You're not bound by worldly ideologies. The Bible is the most honest piece of evidence of sustaining and maintaining a healthy life that you could ever follow. So, to me, I'm proud of anybody who goes out here and hustles and makes money, and they could take care of themselves and things of that nature. But as a woman of high status, if you don't know how to take care of the man in the house, everything else that you saying really don't mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's like you go to school to be a doctor or a psychologist or whatever, and you book smart. Okay. But when it comes to dealing with humans on an interpersonal level, you got the IQ of a meatball. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there, but I don't know. I think that men more or less were raised to not only be men who have potential to grow, to be strong, to build, but we were also brought up to protect, provide, love, do all of the other stuff, and then some. But when it comes to like what the man is supposed to get in turn out of the woman in his life, a lot of women don't have a fucking clue. And they think that having money means that we we want that. Men don't give a shit about your bread. We don't care about your money. I'm not talking about Chad and Tyrone and the ones that don't work and don't do shit. We've already established that's something else. We talking about a man that is equally yoked with you. Just like you need out of him, he needs out of you. So I don't think that gets discussed enough.
Yeah, I agree. And that's down to what you want, right? It's all about what you want. You want a woman to do certain things. You want maybe a woman to be submissive or dominant or whatever. And I'm not talking about the bedroom, yeah? Like obviously that's a big part of relationships, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, the way that you want to be treated. The way that you want to be treated is the most important thing, because actually if you want to become high value, you need that person, you need that woman to encourage you in a positive way. So you might have an awful day at work. You might be trying to build a business, and you might come back from your office, right? Your small little office that, you have a computer there, you've got a screen, you've got internet, you've got a phone, you've been making 100 sales calls, and you haven't sold anything, right? Or you've sold and you made £100 or $100. And then your wife goes, yeah, have you made any money today? And every day they do that, right? That's not how to treat a man, right? And that's not how to make a man a high value man, yeah? If you want to make a man a high value man, you need to encourage him. You need to positively encourage him. Don't give him criticism directly, but be nice, right? Be encouraging, remind him that just if one thing didn't work doesn't mean the next thing's not going to work, right? If he didn't get that job, it doesn't mean he's not going to get the next one, right? And if he's got a goal and he's got an aspiration, you need to encourage him. If you're not encouraging him, then that's not going to work. That's my overall kind of view on it, if I'm honest.
People need to start to have real honest heart to heart conversations with people about their intentions, what they seek. And really, they're supposed to be. I'm not reading from a teleprompter. I don't have a notepad in front of me that's reading off a bunch of interview questions about what type of human you are. But I am going to have a dialogue with you, laugh with you, talk a little shit here and there, pick your brain, and let things organically come out as they be and see how it flowed there. But everybody is either in like this instant gratification mode, like I gotta have it. So you're just bypassing everything that is important, that matters about the other person. So y'all just grocery shopping at this point.
Yeah.
What is the real definitions for these things go above people's head. What really matters, nobody gives a shit about. That's why you keep on leading with money, 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 broke, 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 broke. Anything outside of that, you try to say, oh, well, that's important too, but stop it. You really don't put that first. If you did, you would be much better off, far happier than what you are today. But you don't. That's why you look at that guy as a meal ticket. You look at her as a jump off. And you're confused. And so social media continues to promote and advertise this toxicity, keeps it in rotation. And then it's folks like you and me and a number of other people who have to come in here, be the plumber, the emotional plumber, clean out the pipes and get all the goo and the feces and all the dried up rot that's been corroding everything for years. We got to come in and clean it out, and you don't want to let go of it. Being superficial is not going to get you what you want. I said this the other day. Being superficial in a relationship of any kind, it's like eating air or eating nothing but potato chips. Yeah, you're going to be okay for a while, but you're never going to get full off of that. They're just empty calories. You need a meal, and it's not going to come from what you wear or how many times somebody validates your attractiveness or kisses your butt and lie to you when you need correction. You're not going to get what you need out of that. So as far as this woman, man, and what she said, this is what she should have been doing. This is what she should have did.
Yeah. Well, our door's open, yeah. You know?
Yeah. That was what, like 4 years ago that she made that video. But it's like, even 4 years ago, people still talk like that, still think like that. It's worse now, honestly.
Sad.
So my final thoughts on the whole thing really is just it's probably about time for a lot of us to rewire our brains. There's a lot of stuff that we are hoarding internally that we need to let go of and make so we can make room for the right stuff. Because if you still got that attitude like she did in 2026, it's an issue. And it's not necessarily what she said was wrong, because there are people out here that move like that. But she was so like obtuse in her observation that I don't know. I couldn't listen to her. I couldn't. You left too much out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Choose better. Pick better men. Learn the actual values that are necessary to be in healthy relationships, and stop attaching money and wealth to a happy home, because that don't mean it's going to be a happy home.
Very true. But also it comes, my final thought on it, right, is it also goes back to how you've been brought up as a child and what you value when your parents if you're lucky enough to have parents during your early years, of what attitudes that they have around money and status and wealth, you know, and it is stages. My dad was like old when like he's 93 now, you know, so he was old when I was being brought up, right? He was like 43, yeah, when I was born, right? 42, yeah. And that for me was very difficult. A lot of my friends, their fathers had Bentleys and Mercedes and massive houses with swimming pools, and my dad had like, I don't know, 10 cars, yeah, or 10 vans, yeah, for business, yeah. They weren't fancy. They had the company name on the side, and for me that was quite embarrassing, yeah, because it was just like they all look really cool, and then there's my dad. He's a bit older than their dad, and it just felt, you know, funny, but it's shaped me to who I am, and what I value in life is not all that. It's not all that at all anymore. I'm just not bothered anymore. I want something that goes really, really fast and costs me as little as possible. That's my those are my criteria for a vehicle, right? Seriously, that's my criteria, right? So it's just, it needs to look vaguely good, but it's just like, actually, that doesn't even matter anymore to me. As long as I feel good and look good myself, I'm not bothered about all that stuff, right? Because it is, like you say, it is superficial. So yeah, it's always been a pleasure talking with you, Creed. I thoroughly enjoy it every time, buddy, and I hope your listeners enjoy it as well.
Likewise. Shout outs to Deanna Young, shout outs to Tiff, and everybody who pulled up over here on the stream. Y'all have a blessed day. Sydney, she's up later. I'm going back in the laboratory, but y'all do me a solid before y'all go.
What's the goddamn button back?
Peace.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a brain on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging that generations remember our story.